For Hype Plus, I'm Terrence Sims. It's almost that time of tricks or treats, tales of horror, and ghastly shrieks. American Horror Stories on film often capture sadistic tirades of psychopaths or the various huntings of dolls, houses, and charms. No matter the fiction, nothing could be more terrifying than the truth. 45 minutes north of Atlanta, Georgia, harbors the horrifying origins of the shores of Lake Lanier. Over 700 people have died in Lake Lanier since its creation in 1956, with at least 27 people not being found. The most notable death came in 2012 when 11-year-old Cal Glover, the stepson of R&B singer Usher, died from injuries he suffered when a jet ski collided with his inner tube. Each death was either unexplained or unsolved, leaving the attendees to believe that mystical forces of retribution. Lake Lanier docks the sunken tale of bountiful land for Black and Native Americans plunged into the depths of injustice, death, and Americans' betrayal. What lies beneath hundreds of lives lost, birthing a corroded narrative of stolen generational wealth? Here's a look at one of the nation's most bone-chilling stories, the myth of Lake Lanier. Lake Lanier's tale goes as far back as the 1830s. The land was part of the Creek Confederacy, which was a union of multiple indigenous tribes. By 1838, the U.S. government forcibly evicted most of the members from what would be one of the southeasternmost origins of the Trail of Tears. Soon after the land was sectioned into towns, the new county, and named after former Georgia Governor John Forsyth. By 1912, approximately 1,100 Black people owned land and operated businesses in Forsyth County. Within Forsyth County, Black people were thriving in their own communities, finally getting a glimpse of the American dream in their own town named Oscarville. By September 9th, 1912, all of that would come to an eruptive halt when an 18-year-old white woman named May Crow was raped and murdered in Oscarville. The crimes were pinned on 4 young Black teenagers, Ernest Knox, Oscar Daniel, Trusty Daniel, Oscar's sister, and Robert Edwards, who happened to live nearby. The day after their arrest, a white mob invaded the jail cell of Robert Edwards, where he was then shot, dragged through the streets, and hung from a telephone pole just outside the courthouse. True to fashion, white terrorists known as Night Riders began burning down Black churches and businesses and demanding that all Black residents of Forsyth County evacuate immediately. Fearing for their lives, the residents quickly abandoned their land, their homes, and most of their belongings, leaving the remnants to be pillaged. October of the same year, a jury took a little over an hour to convict the 2 remaining boys for Crow's killing. Trustees' charges were dismissed. 5,000 people gathered to watch the 2 teenage boys be hanged, even though they were widely believed to be innocent of the crime. Unfortunately, acts like these were common, as the same narrative tend to play out for tragedies of the Tulsa and Rosewood massacres. The community later returned to Oscarville and neighboring towns to rebuild their lands, businesses, and search for prosperity and peace in the early 20th century America. Easier said than done, because throughout the 1920s and 1930s, Black farmers began losing their land to the government or having their property transferred over to white farmers, and by the late 1940s, the ethnic cleansing of Black property owners was set to reveal the most devastating bomb. Atlanta metropolis area was vastly growing and was in dire need of water source as well as hydroelectric power. There was also a need to curb the consistent flooding of communities by the Chattahoochee River. In 1946, Congress approved the River and Harbors Act, which looked to strengthen waterways across the country. Among the approved projects was a $45 million grant for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to build Lake Sidney Lanier in conjunction with the Beaufort Dam. Lisa Russell, a writing instructor at Georgia Northwestern Technical College and author of Underwater Ghost Towns of North Georgia, stated, "At first, the government assured landowners that they were being paid for the true value of land and buildings, but residents found it hard to price generations of memories, hard work, and deep roots. Though many of the residents quickly found out that the money offered was not livable sum of what their property was worth. Some found that their compliance was not necessarily required. Night Riders again would invade the residents of Oscarville communities, threatening for them to relocate. Diplomatic actions were also carried out, coercing family members to sail through legalities. Many states had what's called a Torrens Act, which were originally intended to simplify title registry. These laws served as loopholes which allowed third parties to force families off their land through partition sales. This is because when one owner or family member sells, Torrens rules help to shield them from recourse by other owners, family members, who in some instances may not even be notified of the sale until they are served an eviction notice. Inevitably, 700 families sold a total of 56,000 acres to the government, which built a dam on the Chattahoochee River to form the lake. Families were left to take only what they could carry, and by 1956 were forced to watch their land of dreams and prosperity be engulfed by water for the greater good. The new man-made lake was then named after a former poet, musician, and Confederate soldier, Sidney Lanier. I know you may be asking yourself, well, how long did it take for the contractors to tear down the houses and remove the debris of Oscarville? Not long at all, being that the town still resides at the bottom of Lake Lanier till this day. That's right, the houses, cars, chicken coops of what was formerly Oscarville are anchored to the bottom of the lake. Even the cemeteries of Oscarville were not completely removed before the flooding of the town. Caesar Yaber, a spokesman for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, stated, "While the Corps made every effort at the time to locate unmarked burials, the limited capabilities of the time make it probable that unanticipated finds of human remains are possible, whether from the antebellum and Civil War periods or the Native American origins from pre-colonial and ancient times." In 2017, longtime diver Buck Buchanan described his experience at Lake Lanier to local media, stating that sometimes he felt body parts in the lake during his excursions. You reach out into the dark and you feel an arm or a leg and it doesn't move. Expelled Native Americans, a county history riddled with violence and the submerging of a prosperous black town, there's no way all this could be any good for the surface world. In 1958, just 2 years after the completion of Lake Lanier, two young women by the name of Delia Mae Parker Young and Susie Roberts left a party. Maybe it was the spirit of fun, the two fled a gas station after fueling without paying, then skidded off a bridge while crossing to the lake and disappeared. It was noted that Delia Mae was wearing a blue dress the night of her death and wandering near the bridge. With her handless arms, the lady in the water snatches unsuspecting lakegoers and drags them to the bottom. Although the folklore may sound a bit far-fetched, the events really did occur, with authorities finding a body missing its hands and two toes in 1959. It wasn't until 1990, over 3 decades later, that the officials discovered a 1950s Ford sedan with remains belonging to Roberts. Over the years, the body count continued to rise. Roughly around 200 people have died since 1994. Beyond its phantom reputation, Lake Lanier still appears to be one of the premier lakes in Georgia. Owned by the government, Lake Lanier averages around 8 to 10 million attendees, grossing $5 million annually. The people of Oscarville were robbed of their homes, graves, and culture, but most importantly, the potential income that could have been generated by the land ownership. Today, Lake Lanier is home to approximately 33,000 residents on its lakefront, with only 4% Black Americans residing in Forsyth County. Lake Lanier has been named one of the country's best retirement lakes and hosts a variety of activities, including Lake Lanier Islands, a resort complex built on a small group of islands on Lake Lanier. Here, visitors can enjoy Margaritaville Water Park or get back in touch with nature by doing such activities like boating, camping, canoeing, kayaking, and fishing. If you want to stretch your legs for a bit, you can always hike along the Appalachian Trail. I guess the name Trail of Tears was taken already. Petitions on change.org have been organized to return the land back to its former owners, but Uncle Sam isn't one to give up on a dollar. Could the lady in the water be a manifestation of restless souls? Are the deaths compelling as a way to exact vengeance for past wrongs? One thing is for certain. Beneath this family vacation, destination, and conduit to the Beaufort Dam lies a dream deferred, trampled, and blocked. Stay up to date with the latest news in comedy, sports, and music by subscribing here to our YouTube channel. Follow Hype Plus across all social media and look out for original content on our new streaming service. For Hype Plus, I'm Terrence Sims.